the United States and China should seek a relationship of healthy economic competition that is not winner-take-all, but with a fair set of rules would benefit both our countries over time. Where we have concerns about specific economic practices, we should and will communicate them directly.
That was Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in Beijing today after holding a series of high-level meetings with Chinese officials aimed at encouraging economic cooperation. The trip comes amid strained relations between the U.S. and China. For more on what to expect from this trip, let's bring in Michael Pillsbury, Heritage Foundation's Senior Fellow on China Policy. Nobody better to talk to, Michael. You understand this. You heard Janet Yellen there talking about healthy economic competition. Do we have that with China?
No, we don't. They cheat. They deceive us. They refuse to implement decisions made at the World Trade Organization in Geneva. There's a long list of problems that President Trump got started solving them because he was able to get negotiations going, meaning exchanges of draft language, enforcement mechanism, a real process of back and forth over a written agreement. When you hear Janet Yellen talking right now, she's covering up, or she's not explaining that China still refuses to negotiate. The talks have not started yet. It sounds like there was no progress on getting actual negotiations going. I noticed in the statement, she also, Griff, does not mention the military problem, that they've cut off the hotline in which the two militaries could discuss accidental incidents that might happen and reduce the chance of war. So it's not the Treasury Department's business to do that, but that's the background of this, that we're spiraling down toward war with China, and they freeze the hotline and they won't negotiate with Janet Yellen. I think that's the big picture that we're now facing.
So I would say many would surmise that if China's concerned that the U.S. and the Biden administration will defend Taiwan, that's a good thing, right? If they send Janet Yellen over and she becomes their friend, perhaps that softens that. Is that your point?
No, my point is that the person who should be visiting Beijing now is not Janet Yellen. It's our Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. And in fact, just recently at an international conference, he walked over and tried to shake hands with the Chinese defense minister. The Chinese shook his hand, but then refused to meet him. So freezing the hotline, refusing to meet the Secretary of Defense, increasingly threatening comments they're making about Taiwan, and also their naval warships and their bombers are coming closer and closer to Taiwan every day. They have not actually penetrated Taiwan airspace, but they're getting very, very close to it. So this is all part of the big picture that I think the Biden administration has actually changed its China strategy, Griff. Remember in the beginning, Biden talked about China's not going to surpass us on my watch. More recently, though, in the last 3 or 4 months, they're taking a whole new approach to kind of soften their attitude toward China. I don't think it's working. You can just tell from how rigid the Chinese were on this Janet Yellen trip. There's just no progress.
And Michael, when we have these big overseas trips from U.S. officials like Treasury Secretary Yellen, we always talk about tangibles. Are we going to bring anything back? Some agreement, particularly on the economic front, trade promises. Do you see any tangibles coming out of this trip?
Not so far. She revealed to the press on the plane on the way over that she wants the Chinese to engage in debt forgiveness to a lot of really poor countries, especially in Africa, where these countries are heavily in debt to China. So I myself think she's way over optimistic, but that apparently was one of her requests. No movement on that. There's probably 4 or 5 other issues where we know she was seeking something, because she used to be president of the San Francisco Federal Reserve.
Right.
She has lots of contact with China. She's not naive about Chinese trade practices. But to just say what you just played, that we should discuss our differences and our concerns, that's not negotiations the way President Trump was doing. So it's a real setback.
Do you believe that she pressed China on in this vice premier, which was her first time meeting him, in the highest level Chinese official it appears that she's going to meet with? Do you believe that she pressured him on the fact that there's upwards of $600 billion worth of theft in terms of intellectual property and other things that China does?
The Janet Yellen I know is very tactful, polite, charming to a fault. I have a hard time believing that she would engage in President Trump-style rhetoric with the Chinese. She met the Chinese premier, but Xi Jinping refused to see her. So we'll see if the Chinese press coverage in the next couple of days, there's already one press comment that America is trying to make China swallow poison pills. This means economic sanctions. So that's not good. We'll know in the next few days if they praise Janet Yellen and talk about progress, if they unfreeze the military hotline, that'll be signs that things are working. But I'm not optimistic. Are you, Griff?
I don't know. We will have to wait and see, but you put your finger correctly on it. And that is, we'll see whether or not they do things like unfreezing that hotline. Michael Pillsbury, great insight as always. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.